Hello and welcome back to the Finish Line. I'm your host, Andrew Halligan, and I'm joined as always by David and Tom. But today we are joined by a very special guest in Patrick Mullins. Patrick, thanks for taking your time out today. How are you?
Very good, Andrew. Thanks for having me on.
How's things up in Closesutton?
Busy now, yeah. Where all the horses are back in. All the summer horses are still here, and the winter horses are back in, just hacking away. So we're full to the brim and all steam ahead.
Gearing up for a busy winter.
Hopefully now, yeah. It's a great time of year because at the moment they're all the new horses are shiny and new, and
all the dreams are still alive.
Exactly. We haven't got to puncture any balloons yet, so that's all ahead.
Right, just before we actually touch on any of the horses, we have to talk about Tony and Princess Zoe the weekend. Yeah, it must have been a great feeling for seeing Tony win that for you.
Oh, it really was. Geez, I haven't cheered a horse home as loudly in a long time. I was here at home watching it in Loughlin Bridge, myself and Brian Hayes, and we were shouting at Joey Sheridan not to go after one and run too soon. But he was spot on. He did like Joey gave him a fantastic ride. 18-year-old, and I was wondering, was Tony doing the right thing? Sending over a 5-pound claimer who's never ridden at a track before. But fair play to him. He gave it an absolutely spot on ride, and delight for Tony. Delight for Tony and Paddy Keogh would have had horses like grandfather Grable and the likes.
Yeah.
So, a pity they didn't get to celebrate in Paris properly, but great that they were there.
It was a fantastic story to get a horse in a 0-65 handicap up to winning a Prix de Cadran in the space of 3-4 months is phenomenal, really.
It is. I mean, obviously Bernard Cullen, I think, is sourced the horse, and Tony's done well there before, like the Party Playboy, and she's obviously quite unlucky in that, and she got checked in her run early on in the straight and flew home. And a good stallion as well, Jukebox Jory. He actually only stands down 2 miles from our place in Burgage Stud, where Bob back in King's Theatre. Or Shantou, Bob back in Shantou to stand. So he looks to be a coming force in the stallion ranks also.
He is. He's starting to churn out a few good winners lately.
Yes, we have a couple of young horses there that look nice as well. So he might have plenty of success to come.
Very good. Right, we'll aim to look for the future now and try brighten up 2020 again after today's announcement that we might be in lockdown again. But keep looking to the future. Exactly. We'll just go touch on your novice hurdlers first. Like you've some very exciting ones going forward. You've the likes of Fernie Hollow, who won the Champion Bumper. You've Appreciate, who just finished behind him. Fly Smart, who's yet to run for you, but there's a lot of talk about him. Then you have Finest Evermore and She Wears It Well, who won very well yesterday. One of your top mares. If them or some that I didn't go through, who are you really looking forward to seeing jump a hurdle this year?
Well, sure, so lucky start at the top. I mean, Fernie Hollow and Appreciate It were first and second in Champion Bumper. Both are fine, big, beautiful horses. Exactly what you'd want. I appreciate it. I'm actually riding him out at home at the minute, and he's a gorgeous horse. And they're both horses, that ran in points. They're both going to be chasers in the future. Fernie Hollow obviously was a horse that showed a lot of ability from early on, but he was quite difficult to ride in his first race in Berryhouse. I rode him as we normally do, kind of 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
And he was keen and he hung, and he gave me an awful ride. And I come up the straight, and I was thinking I was going to go out and jump the fence and come up the straight. He was hanging left with me. And then once we got over to the rail in the last kind of 100 yards, he ran on. But we decided to change tactics then at Christmas, and we said we'd jump off in front with him and let him settle in front rather than pulling out him. And he ran much better, but he ran too keen in front, and horse Joseph Forge and Fire is coming beating him. And I think that's a horse who probably should be might go on the radar. But I thought Fernie Hollow ran near enough his best that day, because we picked up and the whole of the straight, and the other horse came and beat us. But then we changed tactics completely the third day. We put a hood on him and we dropped him out last. And He completely chilled out. He actually watched the race back after about half a mile. I'm actually sitting down and pushing him along.
Yeah.
But he settled, and then we did the same thing in Cheltenham. He had the hood on, Paul dropped him out last, and he settled, and he came through and won. So look, he's not an easy ride, but the hood seems to have helped him a lot. And also, what happens in hurdles is they tend to go a stronger gallop they do in bumpers. And also, since 2 jumps, they have to settle horse and concentrate them. So he's got the horse the most raw ability, but his temperament is going to be his weakness.
Would that be one of his main downfalls? Is that he's kind of still such a baby, and is he kind of after growing up over the summer? Can you notice that from riding him out?
Look, at home he's not a particularly hard horse. He does take a bit of knowing. Paul Roach does a great job riding him out, but he's not in a racing scenario at home when you've 15 horses all racing in close proximity. So we won't know that until we put him to the track, really. But you would think he's immature outfit, I'm sure. Appreciated is very different, much more laid back. I think he'd be able to go up and trip 3 miles. I think it would suit me. Could be an Albert Bartlett, Neptune kind of horse. I'm really looking forward to him for fences.
Yeah, he's very exciting going forward. He's the build of a chaser, doesn't he?
He really does. He's a fine. So does Fernie Hollow, but they're 2 fine, beautiful horses. But I would expect whatever they do this year, it's chasing is going to be their real. Looking at them, that should be their. And the fact they've won kind of points, that should be their real game. The 2 fillies I mentioned, then they're 2 very different. I mean, Finest Evermore is the highest gets her table. She's tiny. She doesn't show anything at home. She's just another horse at home. Her work is average, but that would be typical of her stallion Yates. We have a mare called Augusta Kate, who's the same, very small, shows nothing home, but on the track was a different mare. Whereas She Wears It Well is a little bit bigger without being big. She works very well at home always. So look, they've been hugely impressive in their runs, but there's a big difference between winning races in July, August, September, October than there is in February, March, April. So they'll have to continue to step up. But we've had horses do that before. Early Beach went and won the Wild Bond after winning in Quebec and the likes through the summer. So hopefully they can continue to improve.
Yeah, we just talked about She Wears It Well yesterday. She travelled through that race very well, and her jumping was very good for a horse only having her second start over hurdles. She looks to have a stamp of class about her, that kind of aura about her when she went around yesterday.
She's always shown a lot at home here in the Gallops. By Chirac with James Fenton, Sorster, he organised the Closesutton Racing Club. Brilliant for them. I think they have 100 members, and they've had 2 mares that both won. Robina's won twice. This mare's won 3 times, and so James deserves a lot of credit. They went in good ground yesterday. The times were very quick. They were down in the 340s, which is particularly quick. So that is very different from what they'll be encountering in the next couple of weeks and months. But yeah, her hurdling was very slick. I think the very man probably really wasn't suited by fast ground on a flat, tight track. And Goodbye Someday might be slightly flattered by his mark of 141. But look, she ran 3 times, won very impressively 3 times. So until she tells us she's not out of the top draw, we'll keep believing she is.
Yeah, and the bookies seem to be taking the same view. She said they're shooting up to the head of the market for the Mayor's Novice, which ye absolutely just farm the winners of every year.
It's been a very lucky race for us, yeah. Very lucky race for us. But look, like I said, the competition will be a lot stronger from here on in. I'm
sure you have something lurking away back in the back of Closesutton somewhere waiting to come out.
Well, we've lots of new horses in, lots of French horses, mixed lab horses. But at this time of the season, we haven't really pressed any buttons. We're always quite late to the party. So all our winter horses are just hacking, camping around there in the Stand at the moment. We really wait until sort of early November before we start to look under the bonnet when the ground is proper soft. And it's March and April is our goalpost. So you mentioned Flight Smart there. He was a horse that was very exciting. We didn't get him. He just hasn't had a very clear run. So hopefully we might be able to get him back this year. But it's never simple when you miss a year or two. You get the likes of Jack and Portois, of course, who come out and fill his potential. Then you have the likes of Animix, who never just seem to recapture it. So it's hard to say.
We just also touched on yesterday, and we go into your open hurlers. There's one that Tom really likes, so he'll talk about there.
Yeah, Patrick, St. Roy caught my eye last year, as he did many's when he won the county hurdle, just the way he travelled through that race. But what actually impressed me was there's 4 of them came to the last in a line, and they were all going well enough. And by the time they got to the line, St. Roy had quick and clear, like a really good horse. But the other 4 of them were still in the line. It looked like a very good run. Aramon has then gone on to win the Galway hurdle. Is St. Roy a horse that you think could turn into a champion hurdle horse this year?
Well, that's what we're hoping. It was a very slow run race yesterday. I think it was about 10 seconds slower than she wears as well. So it just turned into a real sprint, which suited our fella because we wouldn't have had him fully wound. Like, we generally don't have our horses out at this time of year. So we wouldn't have been fully wound up. So that suited, but they went slow on good ground. I thought what he did in Cheltenham last year was extraordinary for a horse with so little experience to go out and win a handicap hurdle like that. Actually, watching it yesterday, and the fact he handled the track, that's a big advantage. And we're plotting a champion hurdle course with him definitely, and I wouldn't put anyone off him. I thought I rode him first time out last year in Clonmel in Amateur Maiden Hurdle, and I thought it was going to be the greatest steering job I ever had. And I finished 5th. I came back in with my jaw on the ground, and I couldn't figure out what went wrong. But just even jumped the horn that day. They might have just pulled a muscle or something early on because he jumped like his legs were tied together. But we got that sorted out, and he looks to his work at home is excellent. So we're hoping he could be a champion hurdle horse definitely.
Very good. And one we touched on there is Aramon as well. He's gone on to win 2 lovely handicap hurdles now this summer. What do you think would be the plan for him now?
I'm not sure what the plan for Aramon is. Willie's given him a bit of a break there now. But it was a great day in Galway. Pity for none of the owners there, but those owners deserved that after all the hardships they got put through the year before. I would have liked to have thought that he'd be there's no reason why he couldn't follow the Sharjah route and turn into a great one horse. It was funny, the 2 of them, they had great novice hurdle campaigns and then struggled early on in open company and returned then to handicaps. And I'd like to think he could be to win the Galway hurdle off his mark. It was that hasn't been done ever. Again, he could be a champion hurdle in January.
Yeah, I see he's up to 163 now, so his handicap days are over. And the horse you touched on there, he's a pound below Sharjah, who ran a fantastic race in the champion hurdle to be second under yourself. Presumably that'll be the route back again this year.
Yeah, again, he's on a little break, and I got a little break after Galway, and I thought for a couple of strides come down to the last. I thought we were going to win the champion hurdle, but I think Barry's mare had plenty in the tank. She was a very good winner, and I actually saw the other day someone was telling me 25 to 1 for champion hurdle, which I thought was an extraordinary price because he does have his off days, no doubt, but I think he could be another kind of theatre world. I mean, he could place in the champion hurdle for a couple of years. It's just been ridden the way he likes to ridden, dropping out and coming through late and fast.
Yeah.
And another couple there are, if we get onto the mares, you've got Benny the Jew and Concertista is a mare I love. She bolted up at Cheltenham last year, and she couldn't win a race in Ireland, and she went to Cheltenham and did that. It was extraordinary, really.
Concertista was hugely frustrating. She second first time out in the mare's hurdle the year before, I think. She had trouble to run, and then got it back last year, and she ran 3 or 4 times and never seemed to reproduce her homework on the track for whatever reason. And then it was a funny race this year in Cheltenham because they went quite hard in front. Manella Melody, I think, might have been keen, and everyone was quite. No one wanted to let Manella Melody get away, including the Collerevi and a few other fancy one. and I think they ended up going way too fast in front, and it probably fell into the lap of a few of them that were being with him to run well. But Concertista, she's gone to Cheltenham twice and ran very well twice, so obviously she's a mare that particularly likes the track. So, you know, she probably is one that if she's disappointing through the winter again, not to forget about her come March time.
Yeah, definitely. And Benny, she's a horse that divides opinion on this podcast, as in where she should go and what her best trip is. And I just wonder, what do you think she should do and what do you think she will do this year?
I imagine she'll be lightly raced again. Like I said, she's a bit like Vega. She's not the easiest to train at home. She gets the kid glove treatment. I think she's probably best over 3 miles. You know, last year, look, I think she was the best horse in the day. I'm not sure. I mean, the run that Rachel got her on the inside was extraordinary, and we got beaten a half length. Possibly we should have made more use of her, maybe, but then, you know, the race didn't go to plan at any way, sense, or form, really. So yeah, I would think 3 miles is her best trip, but I imagine that her program won't change too dramatically.
Would the plan to be, if you have, say, Concertista keep showing her form, would we plan to keep Benny and Concertista away from each other at Cheltenham and step Benny up to World Hurdle? There, should I say?
I don't know that. Look, it's a possibility. Like, you know, Willie's like we'll enter there, and I mean, Concertista, I imagine, could also go chasing. Possibly, she has the physique for it, so that's also an option. But look, we'll have to see where we go. But actually, I mean, Benny could go for the World Hurdle. She'll be entered for it, but Willie likes to run them in the mares if he can.
It's Dave here, Patrick. I just want to touch on some of your novice chasers because you've a lovely bunch of horses. Probably the standout one is Monkfish after winning the Albert Bartlett last year. You have Classical Dream, who maybe has been a little bit forgotten about, coming back. The Big Getaway, who ran a really nice race as well last year at Cheltenham. I do love a grey myself, so we have Asterium Forlange there as well. And one that I really like and might maybe go under the radar a bit, I would have thought he might be a National Hunt Chase horse, Aoni or A1. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that.
Well, I call him A1, which I'm not sure. There's several different variations on his name, all right. Yeah, Monkfish, again, is 16-3, fine, big horse. It appears to be improving with his racing. You know, he got beaten first out last year and got beaten in his bumper. He was very... When I rode him in his bumper, he was very babyish. He kept, you know, anytime there was a half a gap, he was getting out of it rather than getting into it. Yeah. And it appears to, you know, whereas in Cheltenham this year, there was quite a narrow gap, and he really put his head down and went through it. So he seems to be maturing and getting more aggressive in his racing the more he gets to it. He should be, won a point. He would look to be the RSA horse, I'd imagine. The Big Getaway is the biggest horse in the yard. I think he's 17 bigger than Duban. He's a horse. I just can't wait to see him on heavy ground over 3 miles.
He just looks like a horse that if he gets into a rhythm out in front, it'll be near impossible to get past over a fence.
That's what I'd like to think. You know, everything what he's done so far. I've been disappointed with what he's done so far. Disappointed that I got better 2 bumpers on him. Disappointed that his hurdling looked. You know, he got beaten in a maiden hurdle. So maybe we're overestimating him, but he did run very well in Cheltenham. But I just think this year now he'll start to show his true colours. I'm really looking forward to him. What else were we mentioning?
Steering for Lange.
Yeah.
I doubt we'll see him going left-handed again, will we?
I'm not sure. I mean, he obviously won a Grade 1 left-handed in Leopardstown, and then I don't know what happened in Cheltenham. He just seemed to get worse and worse as the race went on. It was extraordinary. So look, we'll screw more fences and see. Like maybe there was something bothering him at the end of last season. There was nothing obvious. But maybe after a summer out in grass, he won't do it. But he'll go with fencing. He wouldn't be as big as the others now. He'd be a slighter sort of horse.
Yeah.
But won a point as well. So we'll screw more fences and see. You know, Berryhouse and Punchdown are both right-handed, so he didn't have to go left-handed.
Just on Classical Dream then. as Dave said there, he's probably going into this season as the forgotten horse. Like if you take out last season, which was or season 4, which was a write-off, and you just go on his Supreme Novice form, he's a huge prize for the Arca right now.
Yep, I completely agree with you. He could be a forgotten horse. I mean, he's jumping with the pot last year. Again, for no obvious reason. You know, he just started taking off way too far from his hurdles. And maybe he'll just have more respect for fences. So we'll usually school the horses kind of late October and November. And we'll see what he's like over fences. But again, he has the size to jump fences. And I agree with you. I think I just put a line through last year. It went dark ways. And he definitely could be one to slip on the radar.
Do you have, I know it's so far out, but do you have any in the back of your head that you're saying, right, this is my National Hunt chase horse for Cheltenham?
I could be short with this year. Like, I'm hoping maybe if Monkfish goes USA, possibly get the big getaway to go first. My only concern is, I think the more I'm seeing the 4-mile chase, or 3-mile 6 as it is now, we kind of want nearly a handicapper. And, you know, Willie doesn't run his horses hugely often, so you're going there on horses that have ran 2 or 3 times on fences. And a lot of the winners recently have been horses that have ran 4, 5, 6 times, and they're just a bit more hardy. They're not, like Kirby second last year was far too keen, he got far too lit up. The winner was a handicapper, you know, lobbed around there nice and relaxed, popped away. So I'd be, you know, I know when Rob Bindham won it, he'd ran all through the summer, he ran an 8 or 10.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, true.
So I think it's a hard one to do, but I'd be hoping something like a big getaway. You know, the big getaway would be a great one to get. But they could both end up in the RFA as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
I'm just going to touch on probably the 2 of my favourite horses ever in training. First one, how's Gold Cup hero? How is he getting on? How's Boum Photo?
He's 100%. Yep. He's in, hacking away. Sure, he won't be out till New Year's Day in Tramore. So not a bother on him. I mean, it's extraordinary. He's a dual Gold Cup winner, but you know, he'd walk around in the parade ring and the sand ring there with the likes of the Big Getaway and Allaho and Appreciate and Turney Hollow, and you wouldn't spot him at all. He's just an indescript, kind of indistinct kind of horse. He's normal size, he's a bit short, he's plain, but he does it on the day.
I still myself, I think he's so underrated for what he's done. Like, for a 2-time Gold Cup winner to be still 6-1 to retain his crown, like, and everyone knows what he's going to do. He's going to go to Tramore. He's going to go straight to Cheltenham. Then, like, has it taken people not to notice? Like, it's worked with Best Mate. It's working with Boum Photo. Why aren't people latching onto him? I just don't get it myself.
Yeah, but you know, you can understand. You know, a horse that doesn't. He runs in a kind of a small chase there once a year, and then rocks up in Cheltenham. And I suppose he got beaten by Kenboy in Punchestown. So you can understand why maybe some people don't have a great affiliation with him. But yeah, he has his aim, and he hasn't missed it yet.
Yeah.
So if it ain't broke, we won't fix it.
And like, just stay on him for a second. Like, his 2 Gold Cups he's at the winning. They've been run different both times. The first one was run at an end-to-end gallop with Native River from the front, and then this year was kind of a muddling kind of gallop, and he has that tactical speed as well that you need for kind of slowly run races, and he just seems to have everything you want for a Gold Cup horse.
He does, and yet he's not a fabulous jumper. I mean, Paul deserves an awful lot of credit for the ride he gives him. You know, I thought the first year he was the second string, Rubio Bell Hill, he was 8 or 10 to 1, and you know, Paul dropped out, went wide, and you know, if it happened, great.
Yeah.
So I thought he deserved a lot of credit for the ride he gave him this year, going back as a reigning champion, going back as a favourite. You know, to drop out, go wide. It's a bit harder to do that. You know, it's easy to drop out when you're on one that's not fancied as such. But when you're on the favourite and you drop out, you're hoping for a lot of things to go right. And
because you're going to have a few trying to box him in or upset his jumping or trying to get him out of his rhythm somehow.
Yeah, and he clouted the first and the back both times actually this year. And Paul just didn't rush him, left him alone, and obviously he winged a tree right up the far end of the course and got upside in front, and he just sat, kept slowing it up, and got a great lap out of him at the last. I think Paul deserves huge credit for the horse.
Yeah. And we'll go on to the governor. And if I say it now, if nobody likes this horse, you don't have a heart. Faugneen, is he coming back?
Well, he's back. He's back in training. He's back in. He looks $1 million. John Codd looks after him. So he's putting his arms out. He's like a kid going around there. You can just, like I said last year, you could just tell he was enjoying it last year. He was enjoying fencing. He was enjoying the training. He was just, he's going around there with his ears pricked, and he's full of himself. He's jig-jogging up to the gallop. So look, we'll say to all the other horses, we'll start to fast work there in a couple of weeks. We'll give him a couple of fences, and if he's sitting well, enjoying it, and still showing that he has all the ability that he showed last year, why not go again? I mean, once you retire these horses, like we have Wither Witch there, and 28 or 29, really on the bumper in 96 in Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And it's great, but he's just out of the field. And I think if they're enjoying the racing, they might as well do it. So that's the plan at the moment anyway. So as long as everything stays well, he's back. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that he's not looking like he's losing any visibility whatsoever. So for him, like, I presume it'll be probably Ryanair or the Dream Gold Cup at the end of the year, all going well. What would you, on your opinion now, what would you aim him for?
It's hard to say. Yeah, I was actually talking to John Codd this morning. I was saying, like, where do you start him off even? There's the likes of John Durkin with the Clonmel Oil, and but the main obviously stuff goes to John Durkin usually, and they're the same owner. And you go over to England, the King George. He's won the Christmas Island Kempton twice, I think, once or twice now. And so, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be Willie and Rich have to sit down, and probably Paul as well, and make a call on it. But I do think 3 miles is really his trick nowadays. You won over 3 miles in the 2 miles, the Champion Stayers hurdle, and punched on the David on. And I thought he was probably a little unlucky in Cheltenham this year. He just missed the third last, and Davy Russell and Stamco just jumped by him and put him in a pocket then. And I was in front on Mellon and wasn't rolling forward. I was kind of keeping it kind of slower, because I'm obviously on a horse stepping up from 2 miles, and didn't really have the gears then for him to, after being put in the pocket, to kind of accelerate by it. I think on another day he probably could have won. But look, he ran a cracker. And he hadn't with Cheltenham. So I don't know, man. As I said, the Gold Cup would be the dream, but we're going to take it just one race at a time. There's a lot of you have to respect the horse. We'll just take it one race at a time and plan after that.
I just got to touch on two here who I'm getting slated for a lot of what I'm saying about these two. One is Mellon. You can tell me more about this now. You've sat on him at Cheltenham. I'm convinced he needs a step up and trip. Am I stupid in thinking so?
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. Definitely, he appeared to stay on up the hill well this year. He jumped brilliantly all the way, and we just got in tight at the last, and Samco winged it. But look, Samco had missed the second last, and like I said, Bohina missed the third last. So the first three home missed one of the last three fences. Yeah. I'm sure if every jockey would have said if I jumped that I'd have won. So that's Cheltenham, that's the way it goes. But no, I wouldn't disagree with you. I mean, his breeding wouldn't suggest by Medition, but on what he showed in Cheltenham, I think he would be worth a try at 2.6. The Ryanair would have the obvious race from 2.5. Yeah. But I wouldn't even mind seeing him at 3 miles at some stage. Yeah.
His record around Cheltenham is phenomenal.
It really is. He's second there 4 years. I think Get Me Out of Here did it as well. And beating the photo finish this year was maybe a neck of Bouvard there another year. But a bit like Concertista, he seems to come alive there. Some horses just seem to, act well around the course. Yeah. And maybe they don't particularly go well on heavy Irish ground as well. You know, they need to get over the spring ground in Cheltenham. It's probably a bit easier for them. But again, but no matter what he does in the winter, you'd have to follow him come next March.
Yeah, he's been kind of the same the last 2 or 3 years. He's like Constantine, his form's not really up to much over in Ireland, but the second he lands in Cheltenham, he grows a foot, he grows the leg. He's a different animal altogether.
Yeah, Vautour was the same, you know. So more so just like Vautour, I remember the year he won the Ryanair, he was working very average at home. He'd gone up to a schooling race in Punchestown and only finished second. We had a scratch in our heads.
Boy.
And like that, once he got over to Cheltenham, then he grew a foot, as you say, and you know, because of the way he was working, we ended up going for Ryanair. Maybe we should have gone for the Gold Cup, but just the way.
Hindsight's a great thing.
Easy with hindsight. Yeah.
Last one I'll touch on for Tom, I get on to one of his ones to follow for the season. That's another one I'm getting stick for. I don't know why, because I think Allaho drop down to Ryanair is absolutely right up his street.
I 100% agree with you again. I think he's just too keen for 3 miles, and you know, he looks at 3 mile chaser again. He's a big, beautiful horse, and I think he's a bit of a Black Hercules type in that he's too keen to go to long distances, and he jumps too well.
Yeah,
be trying to conserve him over a long distance. Yeah, I think the same. I think he's the one for, you know, up there, Mullins and Mellon possibly as well. But I'd love to see him just let roll over 2.5.
Yeah, I think he's just tailor-made. As you said, like, he has the speed to hold up with him. His jump is always going to keep in it, and he has that extra bit of stamina that, if he needs to be called upon, is there.
Yeah, no, I think he looks tailor-made for the Ryanair. I think 3 miles, especially around Cheltenham, stretches him because he's such an enthusiastic horse in the middle of the race.
Yeah. Tom, touch on one that he really likes now.
Yeah, Patrick, the one I don't want to forget about this year, I think people will write him off a bit too easily on one run last year, is your ride in the 3 mile 6, the National Hunt Trace, carefully selected. I went back and watched it a few times. He just looked to travel way too well throughout that race. Maybe you can talk us through that, because, you know, he made a couple of mistakes, but he didn't make too many, I didn't think. He just looked to over-travel in it for me.
I tell you, there's a horse now, if you were at the race, if you saw him in the parade room before the race, you would have known it was game up. He's usually a very relaxed horse, and he's been at Cheltenham before and have been fine, but there were 2 people that had to lead him around the parade ring. He nearly kicked me getting up on him. He was just on his toes. And for a horse who's usually very relaxed, he went down to the start. The time he got down to the start, he had white sweat on his neck around both the reins. I sort of knew my fate now before he jumped off. And the only thing is, because he was like that, I then decided to drop him in to try to get him to settle, to relax. And of course, because he's not a quick horse, he's always been ridden handy, and I just wondered, did he just resent being held up then? But he fought me for 3 miles, and he jumped fine. He made 2 mistakes, one at the ditch top of the hill, but at that stage he was tired, and what he did at the last was just pure. He was drunk. He was just too keen. He was too keen. He got too excited. So I don't know whether we'll put, I don't know whether if he was that Cheltenham this year, I don't think he'll have to handle the crowds all right. But whatever happened to him on the day, he just got very, very wound up. And as you said, I think his jumping was fine. I think he's a horse with an awful lot of ability. I think his jumping will be grand. And I would just put a line through his run in Cheltenham. His race was gone before the flag movement up.
What do you think would be the plan for him this year? I was kind of basing on how well he travelled and the fact that, he won what was it, 2 bumpers, and was second in the champion bumper. Like, there's a bit of speed in there somewhere, is there?
There is. He's not. He's not. He looks like a cart horse. Like he's a very old-fashioned looking horse. But as you say, he has speed. Probably has speed in a true run race. the year he was second champ bumper, I think if Felix Station he make the running, it was a very strongly run bumper. I would like to think he might make into a Lexus Hennessy sort of horse. And then if he doesn't, he could maybe come back. But I'd like to think he could still make into a 3 mile grade 1 horse. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, as you said, Patrick, no, like I think he's definitely one for people not to write off and forget about based on that one run. So, yeah, let's hope he can get back to his top form this season.
What about the other standard bearers then, Patrick? Yeah, I presume Shakan will go for All Guns Basil for the Champion Chase, Min to defend his title in the Ryanair, and then Kenboy as well. Surely he'll be back.
Yep, Shakan is great. Or what happened in Cheltenham? If it happened 12 hours either way, we'd been fine. We were out that morning and we came out with the stone rules, and like a horse with stone rules, like a horse with a broken leg, they just won't put any weight on it for a short period of time. But it was just purely bad timing, unfortunately, and it looked maybe a below par race on paper. Perhaps it wasn't, but
he would have won by half the track.
He's unfinished business there anyway. And Min, I imagine Min will follow a very similar path. I imagine John Durkin, the Dublin Chase, and up to the Ryanair. And Kenboy was disappointing all last year and never went in the Gold Cup at all. I didn't jump even. And he I think he should be, I'd like to think he come back to his best issue. Now, the only thing was his very good season was that particularly dry winter. And maybe he wants really dry ground to be at his best. And, there was an unseasonably dry winter two years ago. But I still don't think we saw him at his best last year. There was just something amiss. He didn't travel or jump with his usual fluency. Yeah. So he's back in. We've been looking after him. And, I imagine he'll go all those grade 1 routes as well. But I'd like to think he's better than he showed last year.
Yeah, I think he is myself. Just last one before we leave you go. It's one that you'll probably have for the whole season and probably have unfinished business at Cheltenham is Billaway. Will his plan be fox hunters all through the season?
Oh, definitely. His owner is very keen to win the Fox Hunter Trophy. I did not have seen it, but it's the size of a small tree. So that's what he bought for, and that's where he'll go back. He went last year and he didn't have a huge amount of experience. Yeah. And it's essentially a handicap. There's 25 runners, they go all right gallop. And he just didn't jump with all it on the back and sort of landing and having to chase him along for a side or two. Whereas the winner is just making a half length. If you watch the race, all it on the back straight, the winner's making a half length, whereas we're having to kind of use energy just to keep our position. Can he turn it around with the winner? I don't know. Possibly not, but I do think there's improvement in him. I think another season under his belt will help him jump more fluently, and that will be a big advantage in that race. Yeah,
you'd be kind of hopeful with it, even with his age taken into consideration, and that, as you said, it was only his kind of first experience in a field like that and a pace like that. I'd be fair confident that you're going to go very, very close at least on him.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go back again now. Like the race I look for myself. I imagine he'll go to Down Royal and then Nace again and back there, and then they'll Punchdown after that. So he's in great form, and like I said, I think he should be better this year. Should, but no doubt. But I do think next year experience under his belt will make a big difference.
Here's hoping for the best. Patrick, again, really appreciate your time with us, and best of luck for the season ahead. I hope everything goes as planned and as smooth as possible.
No problem at all, man. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Patrick.
Appreciate that, Patrick. Thank you.
Patrick.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.